Hello and thank you for joining me. My name's Heather Forgan. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in Scotland. My website is www.stampwithnellie.com. Today's project is actually a card, but it's a fancy fold card. Really this part of the video will just be showing you how the card works and how to put the assemble the mechanism part of it. All of the products I've used and the dimensions, scoring lines, cutting lines, etc. will all be in my blog post, and there will be a link to that in the description below. So first off, this is the card. So as things look, it's a fairly standard card. I've actually used the standard American size card base for this rather than my standard card size, just because I quite often get asked to convert to American card sizes, so I thought I would start off with that instead of my usual centimetres, using inches. So this is 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches there. I've used some of the new in colours. This is Bumblebee and Cinnamon Cider, and the designer series paper that I've used all comes from the Flowers for Every Season designer series paper pack. This pack has, as you would probably imagine from the name, flowers that are spring flowers, summer flowers, more autumnal flowers, and even through to Christmas there. So it uses all of the new 2020 to 2022 in colours, but also has a couple of extras in there as well, which are Poppy Parade and Whisper White, and there's some other, so some of them have got floral on both sides and some have got stripes or dots or other kind of geometric patterns or foliage. I really like that one. Haven't used that one yet. So it's a great pack because it coordinates with all of her new in colours as well and covers every season. This flower that I've got on here, I actually fussy cut from one of the sheets of paper. Can't remember that one. So I fussy cut one of those sunflowers with my trusty snips, and I also cut another one of the centres, inked the edges of that and popped that up with Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm not sure if you can see that on there. And on the back of the card, I put another couple of bits that I had fussy cut as well. And there's plenty of room on the back of the card for you to write your message. I've closed it with ribbon just because this particular part of the card is really quite bulky. And if I didn't have the ribbon closure on there, it would really pop up at that side. I've obviously tied that a bit too tight, can hardly get it undone. So as you can see, without it tied, it kind of bounces about because it's pretty hefty at that side. So what does it look like when we open it? There we go. So from flat down you can see we've got all sorts of ups and downs, mountains and valley folds on there, and that's how it looks from above as well. Looks pretty complicated. It took me a little while to work out how to do it, but hopefully I can show you that it's not too bad after all. I think probably most of the time was adding on all of the little bits of designer series paper. The sentiment on the front, "Thanks friend," comes from the Well Written dies. Now, as you can see, these are fairly delicate dies, and previously I probably would have used a fine tip glue pen to attach them, but this time I have used the new Stampin' Up adhesive sheets, which are great for delicate die cutting. So really what you do is, this is a piece of Whisper White that I have attached the adhesive sheet to, done my die cuts, and then I can just peel off the backing. I've got a little bit of it here, so there's a backing on that side, sticky there, and then a backing on that bit as well. So it does mean that all of your die cut is covered in adhesive and makes it nice and easy just to put onto your card. Okay. The sentiments that I've stamped inside are from the Well Said stamp set, which coordinates with the Well Written dies on there. Okay, so simply folds up, and I've added just a few little gems on that one because it doesn't really need much more than that. Right, so because most of what I want to show you is actually the inside part, I've gone ahead and made the standard card base. So this is a piece of Misty Moonlight card, which was 11 centimetres long, 11 inches long, 4¼ inches wide, and I've scored on the long side at 5½ inches. So that gives us our normal card base. I've then added a piece of the designer series paper that is just 1/4 of an inch shorter. So that is 4 inches by 5¼ inches. I've added this big daisy on the front by using the original daisy punch, and I've punched that 3 times with Whisper White card, and I've put a little circle in the middle of Bumblebee card. Made a banner with the Cinnamon Cider card and added my thanks from the Well Written dies, again using the adhesive sheets just to make it easier. Okay, I actually added the ribbon underneath the paper, and I'll show you how I did that when we come to do the back. So the insert part is the kind of technical part of it. So this piece of card here measures 4 inches by 10½ inches. Normally I would use my scoring tool, but because I'm going to be doing partial cutting as well as scoring, I'm actually going to use my new paper trimmer. So on the short side, I want to score, and I'll explain these little bits in a minute, at 1 inch. The paper trimmer has 2 blades. This one cuts and this one scores, so I'm putting my cutting one well out of the way. I've lined up to the 1 inch mark at that side there, and I'm just bringing that down, and as you'll see, it puts in my score line. I'm going to turn that round and do the same on that side, again at 1 inch. Okay, so on the long side, I want to score at 2 3/4, at 5 1/4. For this I need to put out the extension arm because I then want to do at 7 3/4. Okay, so I've got those 4 score lines done there. I now need to put, and I've also got score lines in that will be cut to become that bit. I now need to put in these extra score lines. No, sorry, just these 2 extra score lines there. So I want to do that at 1 3/8 of an inch, and I'm just doing it from 1 inch, which I can see there, down to 3 inches, which is there. Okay. And I want to do the same at 9 1/8. So score from 1 inch down to 3 inches. Okay, so we've got those extra score lines in there. Now, this is the slightly more tricky bit. So I'm going to use a pencil to show you that I want to cut from there right down to there. So this is 1 3/8 of an inch to 9 1/8 of an inch. Because I find that quite difficult to see, and I'd be peering with my glasses on, and I'd be right under the camera, I've actually put a bit of washi tape or low tack tape underneath with a line, and I lined that up with 1 3 and 9 1/8 on that one. Okay, so that just gives me a bit more of a guide for my blade. So put the scoring one out of the way and bring up the, and what I'm going to do actually is line that up here, try not move it, line that up at 1 inch again, bring that over, press it down and bring it right down, which you'll probably not be able to see, right down to my other mark. So I can see my marks there, and there's a little guide on there. So hopefully that's right. And that makes it pretty precise. Do exactly the same, so I'm going to move that up to where I want it to start. Put that back over to 1 inch. Press that down and bring it right down to where my mark is. Now, if you do it a little bit short, that's not a problem, because you could then just go in and snip the last bit with your scissors. But with my little hack with the tape, I've managed to do that pretty well. Okay, so I've got pieces of designer series paper that will go along these bits. I'm not going to wait to do all of that and keep you waiting. I've actually done this slightly differently this time as well. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll glue all of that in place, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've now got all of my pieces of the flowers for every season designer series paper glued into place. You'll get all the measurements for these in my blog post, as I've said earlier. So now we've got to do the folding, and we want the fold to be different on these two bits from this bit. So I'm going to do these two bits first, and I'm just gently doing a valley fold, then a mountain fold, and then a valley fold. And I will burnish these as well. Okay, so we've got that bit going that way. We now need to persuade this bit to do the opposite. Okay. So there we've got it, just the same as we had with the original one, like that. Okay, so bring back in my card base, and what I'll do before we put that bit in the middle is find the ribbon. So eventually found my ribbon. What I want to do is just simply, and I'm just going to use snail for that because I don't have the new adhesive, but I'll put a link to that in my products list. Okay, so I've really just put that enough glue to hold that in place, but I've put the ribbon quite far in because I don't want there to be too much of a pull there. I kind of want to spread the load around. So for this one I've cut a piece of the designer series paper, and I've added a die cut from Stitched So Sweetly with Whisper White card, so that there's room to write a sentiment on there, just to change it up a little bit from the original one. So again, just a bit of glue, not too much, and put that one in the middle. Oops. There we go, happy with that. And this is nice thin ribbon, so it's not really adding any bulk to the card. Okay, we've got an insert, and I want to squish it down to how it will be when the card is closed, and I'm just going to burnish that again. Now I've got all of the bits in place. I want to make sure I've got it the right way up, so that's the way I want it, like that. Okay, now I'm pushing this bit away from where it should be because I want to use that to line up with that bit there. I am going to put glue on just the outside pieces of that. Make sure I go into the corners. Okay, using that to line up to the score line in the middle. Make sure I've got roughly where I want it, and then bring this bit over and press down. Okay, so that's that bit in place. I can put that back the way it's supposed to go. Like that. And add glue again just on the outside part. Don't put any on that bit. bring the card base over, press in place. And there we have it. One fancy fold card. Nice and easy. It is a little bit easier than it looks. It's just a case of making sure that you get some precision on your cutting along there. I hope you've enjoyed today's card. Seeing the two different versions using exactly the same designer series paper pack, but just mixing the card colours and the designs up a bit as well. That's the beauty of using Stampin' Up designer series paper, is that you will in the pack get different designs that will coordinate beautifully. The dots in the back of that piece there are exactly the same as that bit there. You couldn't ask for anything better, could you? If you've enjoyed today's tutorial, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and click on the bell so that you get notified of any future or all future tutorials that I'll do. I hope to be back with another one in just a few days' time. I hope you'll look out for that. In the meantime, please keep safe, be well, take care. Bye bye.